Hey guys, 2025 is shaping up to be an incredible year for RPG fans. We're looking at a rare mix of original titles, long-awaited sequels to legendary franchises, and even remakes of classics that fans have been dreaming about for years. In this video, we're highlighting the most exciting RPGs of 2025, whether they've already launched or have been officially confirmed for release this year. The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion Remastered. One of the most beloved RPGs of all time returns in stunning form. Oblivion Remastered breathes new life into the iconic world of Cyrodiil with enhanced visuals, reworked lighting, and modernized mechanics, all while preserving the soul of the original. Whether you're closing Oblivion gates, joining the Thieves Guild, or just wandering the wilds, this remaster makes every moment feel fresh again. It's not just a nostalgia trip, it's a chance to rediscover a classic through a modern lens. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. This is a truly unique RPG that blends visual poetry, turn-based combat, and a story steeped in European decadence. The world is dying. Once a year, a mysterious painter erases everyone whose age matches the number she paints on an obelisk. The heroes of Expedition 33, they're next in line. Their only hope is to find the painter and stop her. The combat requires precision and reflexes, somewhat like Persona, while the art style is a surreal blend of marble, gold, and fog, a visual hallucination on an epic scale, especially for a debut project. The only thing I didn't enjoy was the dodge mechanic in battles. You'll know exactly what I mean once you play it. Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. The Fall of Avalon started out as a narrative spin-off to the turn-based strategy game Tainted Grail, but over time it evolved into something much bigger, a full-scale, first-person action RPG reminiscent of the Elder Scrolls. For a relatively inexperienced studio working with the Unity engine, the scope of the project seemed almost too ambitious. But against the odds, the developers pulled it off. The game spent 2 years in early access, during which time the team worked closely with player feedback to improve nearly every aspect of the experience. Combat has been overhauled, the graphics and world geometry have been reworked, and the game is now packed with content, finally reaching a full release. This is a dark, open-world RPG played in either first or third person, with a strong Souls-like atmosphere. The story unfolds in a dying Avalon, once ruled by King Arthur, now long forgotten. The land is overrun with monsters, madness, and ruin. The skill progression is based on how you play. The more you use a weapon or ability type, the better you become at it. The ability tree includes branches for archers, mages, warriors, and more. Weapons and gear range in rarity, from common all the way to legendary, giving you plenty of room to customize your build and playstyle. Atomfall is an atmospheric survival action RPG from Rebellion Developments. Set in an alternate 1962, a nuclear disaster has turned England's Lake District into a radioactive exclusion zone. You play as an amnesiac survivor exploring eerie rural landscapes, encountering mutants, soldiers, robots, and ancient cults. There are no quest markers or hand-holding. You're free to go wherever you want, talk to whoever you meet, or just wipe out every NPC if that's your style. Combat feels like a pub brawl. Even a small group of enemies can be lethal. Ammo is scarce, and your health is tied to your heart rate. The higher it gets, the worse your vision and hearing become. Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2. The sequel to the hyper-realistic medieval RPG is here. The story once again follows Henry of Skalitz, now caught up in the Bohemian Civil War of 1403. The developers have doubled the size of the world, improved the combat system, and added large-scale sieges, along with deeper stealth and diplomacy mechanics. Expect non-linear quests, deep character customization, and an impressively authentic simulation of medieval life, from hygiene to blacksmithing. Kingdom Come 2 has become one of the year's biggest hits. Over 1 million copies sold in the first 24 hours and 2 million within just 2 weeks. Avowed. This is the long-awaited action RPG from Obsidian, set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, more specifically, on the vibrant Living Lands archipelago. You play as an emissary of the Etter Empire, sent to investigate a mysterious plague spreading across the region. Unlike Obsidian's previous isometric games, Avowed offers fast-paced combat where you can mix swords, bows, guns, and magic on the fly. You can choose to play as a human or an elf, and your dialogue choices and decisions will directly impact the story. There are no romance options, but your relationships with companions evolve based on trust and shared experiences. Post-launch, Obsidian has been actively supporting the game. A May update brought a redesigned map, new items, and even a special mode for players with arachnophobia. Coming this summer, expanded crafting and smarter NPC behavior. And in the fall, New Game Plus, a photo mode, and new customization options. Chernobylite 2. The sequel to Chernobylite from the Polish development team is heavily inspired by Fallout 4. It once again drops players into the Exclusion Zone, a haunting, irradiated landscape filled with factions to join, skills to master, and a base to build. This time around, there's a stronger focus on nonlinear storytelling. Your decisions shape how the narrative unfolds, and the game offers a more refined world with deeper lore and an improved combat system. Character progression now includes perks, skill trees, and the option to align with different factions, each affecting your story in meaningful ways. Bloodlines 2. A true development saga. According to Paradox Interactive, this is both their first and last attempt at publishing an RPG, and given the troubled production of Bloodlines 2, it's easy to see why. After multiple studio changes, delays, and skepticism, the game is still in development, and rumors suggest we might finally see something new this year. Fans of the original Bloodlines are still holding out hope, though the premise raises eyebrows. You play as a 400-year-old vampire who suddenly wakes up in the modern world. In the current Masquerade lore, elders like this should terrify the younger generations. Instead, you're put in a power struggle with characters who should be running scared from you. It's a strange setup, maybe even silly, but either way, we're curious to see what comes of it. Borderlands 4. After years of rumors, Borderlands 4 has finally been announced, and it's aiming for a release this year. While details are still scarce, we do know it takes place on a brand new planet called Kairos, where players will face off against a mysterious new villain known as the Timekeeper. The game features 4 new Vault Hunters, each with their own unique skill sets. Expect an upgraded combat system, new weapons, and fresh traversal mechanics like double jumping and using a grappling hook. Gearbox is calling it the best Borderlands yet, and this time, the tone is much darker than anything we've seen in the series so far. The Outer Worlds 2. This is the first major collaboration between the original Fallout creators since Troika Games shut down. The first Outer Worlds divided RPG fans. Some found its humor and charm refreshing, while others thought it leaned too far into satire, sacrificing depth. Now, 6 years later, Obsidian is back with a sequel, one that's not tied to the original story. This time, we're heading to an entirely different colony, hundreds of light years away. From what we've seen in the trailers, the sequel keeps the same tongue-in-cheek tone and doubles down on the retro-futuristic aesthetic. As for the gameplay, the devs describe it as the same, but bigger and better, and honestly, that's probably exactly what fans want. Elden Ring, Nightreign. From Software, the minds behind Dark Souls and Bloodborne, have long been accused of making the same game in different settings. But if you still had doubts after Armored Core 6 or Deraisen, the announcement of Nightreign might change your mind. This unexpected spin-off to Elden Ring shifts the formula into co-op territory. It blends the brutal boss fights and vast exploration we expect with new mechanics, a class system, roguelike elements, and short, focused play sessions that last about an hour. You can play solo or in a group of 3, 2-player parties aren't supported. Despite the multiplayer format, From Software insists Nightreign is not a live service title. All content will be available from day one, with no seasonal drip feed. Dying Light: The Beast. This standalone sequel to Dying Light comes from Techland and drops players into a new city ravaged by a deadly outbreak. Mutants roam the streets, hostile factions rule the neighborhoods, and your survival depends on parkour and fast-paced combat. Unlike the previous games, The Beast puts a bigger emphasis on RPG elements and story choices. Players decide which factions to align with, which missions to tackle, and how to shape the world around them. Expect a deeper narrative, upgraded visuals, and much more customization, all wrapped in the series' signature kinetic movement and open-world design. The Age of Bhaarat. This is an ambitious action RPG from an Indian studio, set in a dark fantasy world inspired by ancient Indian mythology. You play as a forest warden, sworn to protect your homeland from a demonic invasion using traditional weapons, mystical relics, and nature's spiritual powers. The combat system features a unique grappling hook mechanic for vertical movement, adding a fresh layer to traversal and strategy. The game supports both solo and co-op play, letting you experience the story alone or with friends. Ertugrul of Ulukayin. From a Turkish studio known for the hit TV show comes a third-person action-adventure set in medieval Anatolia. Players take on the role of one of three unique heroes, each with their own combat style and special abilities. The game world is semi-open and filled with historical landmarks, mythological beasts, and rival factions. You'll explore vast steppes, interact with neighboring tribes, hunt, craft, and expand your base. A standout feature? Dream sequences rooted in Turkish mythology, sometimes offering insight, other times leading you into deadly illusions. After trying the demo, I can say the concept is intriguing, but there's still a long way to go on the technical side. Let's hope the team sticks the landing. Wuchang: Fallen Feathers. This grim action RPG drew early comparisons to Sekiro and Bloodborne for good reason. Set during the final days of China's Ming Dynasty, it drops players into a land plagued by chaos and corruption, and a bizarre illness that causes people to sprout feathers and transform into monsters. The main character, a pirate with amnesia, is afflicted herself. Her mission: recover her past, find a cure, and punish those responsible. Expect brutal combat, a variety of martial arts styles, freakish mutations, and even early firearms, all adding up to a dark, atmospheric experience steeped in folklore and body horror. Solasta II. French studio Tactical Adventures is back with a sequel to the cult favorite CRPG Solasta. Built from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5, the sequel aims to improve on every system from the first game, especially character customization, with a dozen new subclasses based on the world's unique setting. The environments have been completely redesigned to look more natural and immersive, stepping away from the rigid, grid-like layouts of the original. Story-wise, Solasta II takes place on a new continent, many decades after the events of the first game. You won't need to know the original to dive in, but returning fans might still spot a few nods. Directorate: Novitiate. A mix of urban fantasy in the vein of World of Darkness and gritty neo-noir detective fiction, Novitiate blends early 2000s Los Angeles aesthetics with stylish gun-fu action reminiscent of Equilibrium and John Wick. You play as Mercury. By day, she leads a seemingly normal life, but by night, she becomes a gun-wielding battle witch hunting down a serial killer in a city torn apart by a supernatural mafia war. The developers promise a branching narrative with choices and consequences, a relationship system with NPCs, and a visually dynamic combat system. Despite its ambitious and demanding concept, the game doesn't exactly push the envelope technologically, and character animations, in particular, fall short of expectations. That's why the team decided to launch it in early access first. Still, Directorate feels original enough to spark the interest of RPG fans who are tired of the same old medieval fantasy tropes. Titan Quest II. The long-awaited sequel to the cult classic action RPG inspired by ancient Greek mythology is finally on the horizon. Developed by Grimlore Games, the studio behind Spellforce 3, Titan Quest 2 aims to recapture the spirit of the original while introducing modern gameplay systems and enhancements. This time, the story centers around Nemesis, the goddess of vengeance, who is broken free from divine control and is twisting the threads of fate, unleashing chaos upon both mortals and gods. You'll need to join forces with the Olympians to stop her rampage. The mastery system returns, letting players combine two classes to create unique builds. Gear can also be enhanced using affix mechanics and crafting ingredients. After a successful closed playtest involving thousands of players, the developers have pushed the early access release to summer 2025 to polish the game further. Testers especially praised the visual style, sound design, and immersive storytelling. Clockwork Revolution is a bold first-person action RPG from the studio behind Wasteland and The Bard's Tale, led by industry veterans who once worked on Arcanum. Powered by Unreal Engine 5, the game brings players into the heart of Avalon, a vast steampunk metropolis ruled by a ruthless tyrant known only as the Lady. Using a unique time-traveling device, players can alter pivotal events in the past and watch those changes ripple through to the present. Every decision reshapes the city, affects the lives of its citizens, and branches the storyline in unexpected directions. Gameplay mixes fast-paced gunfights using Victorian-era weapons, like revolvers and Gatling guns, with deep RPG mechanics. Players will create custom characters, align with different factions, and make meaningful choices that truly shape their journey. Crimson Desert. What began as an online prequel to Black Desert has evolved into a full-blown open-world action RPG. Developed by South Korea's Pearl Abyss, Crimson Desert clearly wears its Witcher 3 influences on its sleeve, and that's not a bad thing. You play as Captain Cliff, the leader of a battle-hardened mercenary crew. The game sends you across a vast, diverse world, from icy tundras to sun-scorched deserts, taking on quests from job boards, clashing with enemies, and uncovering secrets across the land. Expect a fast, fluid combat system that lets you mix weapons and magic in creative ways. Crimson Desert is scheduled to release in the final months of 2025, and it's shaping up to be a must-play for fans of narrative-driven RPGs with weighty action. Exodus is a massive sci-fi RPG from a team of ex-BioWare developers, including the lead writer of Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic. Inspired by Interstellar, the game dives deep into the emotional cost of time travel. You play as the Traveler, someone capable of jumping between planets and shaping the fate of entire civilizations. But here's the twist. While you might spend just a few days exploring alien worlds, decades could pass back home due to time dilation. When you return, your loved ones may have aged, or your society may be unrecognizable. Expect sprawling open worlds, complex moral choices, romanceable companions, and a deep character progression system. Exodus is aiming to be the next great space opera RPG, not just about saving the galaxy, but about what you lose along the way. Set in 1603, 3 centuries after the events of Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei takes us north to the island of Hokkaido. This time, the story follows Atsu, a fierce female warrior on a personal quest for vengeance after her family is brutally murdered. Her mission, to hunt down 6 unique and deadly targets, each one a boss-level threat in their own right. The game features a vast open world with diverse biomes, from snow-covered forests to icy tundras and vibrant meadows. The story unfolds non-linearly, giving players the freedom to choose the order of their kills and shape the narrative through their choices. Ghost of Yotei is currently scheduled for release in October, and for now, it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Gothic Remake. The original Gothic was a cult classic, but let's be honest, those blocky models, clunky animations, and harsh UI were very much products of their time. Now, it's getting the remake it always deserved. Built from the ground up by a team of true fans, this isn't just a visual upgrade. The entire world has been expanded by 30%, cut content has been restored, and new quests and combat arenas have been added. The dialogue has been rewritten for more natural flow and emotional depth, and the final chapters of the story have been reimagined to feel more epic and rewarding. Powered by Unreal Engine 5, the Gothic 1 remake keeps the franchise's signature freedom and non-linear gameplay, while reworking combat and conversations for a modern audience. Hell Is Us is a dark, ambitious action RPG helmed by the former art director of Deus Ex. The game takes place in a mysterious, war-torn country cut off from the outside world, a land ravaged by civil conflict and a strange supernatural catastrophe. You play as a former peacekeeper, returning to this haunted land in search of your long-lost parents. But this isn't your typical open world. There are no maps, no compasses, and no quest markers. Exploration is organic, relying on your instincts, observation skills, and conversations with NPCs. Combat focuses on brutal melee encounters using swords, spears, and axes, with a helpful drone companion that can distract enemies. It's a game that wants you to get lost in the best possible way. Role-playing games have always been more than just a genre. They're a gateway into becoming someone else, stepping into unfamiliar worlds, and forging your own path from the first step to the final decision. And 2025 is shaping up to be an incredible year for fans of deep stories, immersive worlds, and true freedom of choice. Now, the only question is, where will your journey begin? The Image Game Channel was with you. Have a nice day.